Hello, I'm Plague of Gripes. Feel free to call me Eli if you want, I don't care. Today I'll do something special for you. Well, everything I do is special, especially stupid. But today I'll be doing something called a character fusion. These have actually been around for a long time. Something a lot of people will recognize are the Pokemon fusions that are generated by overlaying the sprites on top of one another. You can go further back and find people fusing together in cartoons or comics or so on. It's not a new concept. Why, there are even Egyptian hieroglyphics depicting Ric Flair fusing with Anubis to gain the power to defeat Ra, the Sun Goku. I did that wrong. Anyway, back in November of 2012, during one evening of miscellaneous activities of ill report, I was browsing the comics and cartoons board on 4chan when I noticed a thread debating who was better, the redhead from Gravity Falls or another redhead from Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. It would be fun to fuse these designs together, I thought. These styles are kind of similar, in a way. Flash forward. 4chan goes nuts, I end up doing requests, and end up with 3 fusions in total. And so I decided to fuse those together, as well. Hence the dumb Hex fusion meme was born, to my slight chagrin. A couple of months later, I still see threads devoted to making them. Although, oddly, the video game board was always more active in actually making them than the comics people, who just seemed to post requests. The anime board is the anime board. I wouldn't recommend going there. I'll have shown several of these already on screen. I've done the Redhead one, the Kickstarter Games fusion, and the Fighting Game Catgirl fusion. That sounds very creepy saying it out loud. I got the concept out of my system, but the idea is fun enough in its own right, I felt, to think that maybe you might enjoy a video on it. I will fuse 2 characters together in this video, with a plan for a full triple fusion down the line. I may or may not make another video following up on this one. I've already attempted this once, although YouTube flags everything in the background as someone else's song, even if it's a classical composition. Consequently, I can't do a full-time lapse. You will instead have to suffer through the sound of my voice for minutes to come. Now, before you begin, you need to select potential characters. Too many people seem to have their theme be, girls I want to fuck. Don't do that, kids. The lust of your loins should stay hidden in your browser history, not inside of mine. The common theme can be anything, as long as it's something off of which you can base a theme. It could be an art style, commonalities between designs of the base concept, or even similar personalities. Even so, you probably shouldn't attempt to fuse together a real person with a Sonic character and, you know, an anime character. Yes, I know you really like Sonic. Yeah, I know. He can really move, yes. But the result will be too horrifying, and also you are a pervert. Stop it. For my own example, I am going to go with video game female protagonists. Specifically, since that's a pretty loose idea. Ones that use guns and wear sleek outfits. Why not? I originally wanted to go with ones that wear armor, but there's only 1 or 2 of those. I ended up going with Samus from the Metroid series in her armor, not the stupid Zero suit, which is grossly overdone. The eponymous Bayonetta, and lastly the boss, specifically from Snake Eater of the Metal Gear series. This video will be a fusion of the first 2. If I make more videos of this specific combination, the boss will be in the next one. Let us begin! What I'm going to attempt to do now is to watch over myself drawing this fucking thing, and try to comment without getting too distracted, which I will be, so it's just going to happen, folks. Alright, first thing I'm going to try to do is try to get a pose down. Oh, that is so fucked up. As you can see, don't really commit to anything. Usually I try to actually use one of the existing poses of one of the characters. The problem with Bayonetta's pose here is that it's just showing off tits and ass. It's not really showing off the details of her design. As a result, I don't want to use it, and I don't want to use these, one of Samus's designs, because hers conveys a sense of power, whereas Bayonetta's is conveying a sense of, you know, femininity. So I end up, which is sort of unusual for me, just making up one on my own. Or trying to combine the 2. This one I kind of went with Samus as the base sort of concept and worked back over it, trying to make it a little bit more curvy. That means picking a pose that shows off a bit more of the curves and, you know, camera angles, things like that. Let's see. I tried to go with the bounty hunter idea. It's one of the things that's unusual about Bayonetta. Her suit is actually made of her own hair, apparently. I've never actually played the game, but apparently that's what's going on. Don't ask me to explain it, I don't know. I tried to go with sort of a, you know, cape drifting off the side of the arm sort of thing. You know, Clint Eastwood, the hell's his name? Fett, Boba Fett, that sort of thing. I think he does that. Anyways, draw the base sort of idea, don't commit too much to it. Going back over the first primary with a second primary, because you just need to work up your details. Normally, if you're not actually, I don't actually draw this way, but if you're working primarily exclusively actually with just shading, not using any lines, then this would come very naturally to you, because you're just going to be working up over midtones over and over again. But here I'm trying to combine the two ideas of the suits together. One of the problems is that Samus's, of course, is very, very metallic, still sort of curvy in its own way, but very detail-oriented, whereas Bayonetta doesn't really have much detail aside from a few, you know, sort of emblematic things. And it's very focused more on curves, so I'm trying to incorporate the curves of the very small amount of curves of Bayonetta's basic profile together with the profile of the Metroid costume. Which is to say her, let's see, the little tapered shoulders are one thing that's off Bayonetta's. Let's see, the way that the feet taper off is also something that's from Bayonetta. The way that it meshes over in the middle. One thing I didn't carry over is Bayonetta's little drooping drape things that come off of her talbert, or whatever you want to call it. Okay, here I am trying to come up with intermediary lines for something as small as her eyes. Even something like the shape of a character's eyes, the shape of their face, and so on. You can't just pick one of them and then roll with it, because you're going to end up with something that looks exactly like one of the other characters. So you need to pick intermediaries, which means that you say if you have a curved line and a straight line, you pick a line that is kind of straight and kind of curved, whereas just picking one or the other. I'm drawing the lips here, but I end up changing this many, many times over throughout the course of the thing. I think actually even at the very end of this video I throw away the lips entirely and don't even bother showing it. I'll go ahead and mention that there's a couple of portions in this video in which it skips ahead, but that is because Bandicam decided to freak its shits. And I lost a good amount of information in the process, and I didn't want to roll back everything that I had done, so I just ended up recording from that point on. Alright, this is probably the most difficult part of her face. It's the fact that Bayonetta, one of the very core, this is very essential for Bayonetta, is her glasses. That's part of her identity, you don't want to get rid of those. And the fact that I'm working with the armor set, so I need to include aspects of Samus's helmet. I didn't want to just have the whole thing come off. So I sort of compensated by fusing together the idea of the glasses with the idea of her visor. Consequently, I wasn't especially satisfied with it, but it kind of works fine, more or less. Here I'm trying to do the same thing with her hair, which is a bit more problematic, because they're not totally different hairstyles, but they're substantially kind of different. The main problem was the fact that Samus's hair does not carry over to one side. She parts it to one side and then that's it, whereas Bayonetta's completely covers her entire face. As a result, I have to try to figure out how to get her bangs to swing over without it looking too much like Bayonetta. I think I actually ended up incorporating too much of Bayonetta's face into this. I mean, the thing about Samus's face, she has a very generic face. Just, I am girl, female, video game protagonist face, and that's it. She at least doesn't have like, sexy face and so sexy, please fuck me, like most video game, you know, female protagonists have. But still, she doesn't really have that much personality going for her in the facial area. Alright, here I'm trying to carry over some of Bayonetta's style with the... because the armor is going to be completely dominating this design. That's going to be one of the primary issues with any sort of fusion, is you're going to have core concepts within one of the designs completely overtaking everything else. In this case, there's really not much of a mid-ground between armor and cloth. It's either one or the other. You can kind of have one draping over the other, but ultimately you're going to have to use the, I mean, you could use, like, shoulder plates or something, I guess, but then you're, it just doesn't really look that good, especially whenever the core idea for Samus is that she's, you know, she's a big metal person. She's, you know, the Metroid girl. I mean, you can't really do much else with that. So what I end up doing is trying to change the Samus design, the suit design, to try to look more like it was like a Bayonetta styling of the same thing. Of course, then you kind of run into the problem of it just looks like Bayonetta inside of a Samus suit, which is a perfectly legitimate concern. The last one, I actually did this before, as I said, but the first one that I did kind of had that problem in spades. This one is not quite as bad, although I still feel like I could have done a bit better with it overall. But anyways, as you can see, I am going back over... Well, I'm first creating... even though I've already done 2 primaries. I did the first primary, which is just getting the... fleshing out the pose. The second one was getting more the overall concept of the details down. Then I go back over it and do the actual line work. But then, ever so often, I will have to stop and create a third primary, temporary primary, just to try to get things going. Here you can see that the fact that she's doing this pose isn't working too well with the fact that it's armor. If you're doing any sort of design for armor, then you have to be aware that it has to be able to move. Not that the Metroid design really does this too well. I mean, you turn into a ball. There's no possible way that this thing is going to turn into a ball. But they just do it anyways, because, you know, fuck logic. You hear me doing the third primary thing again. But yeah, I had to go back over and try to figure out how to cheat the line work, so that it looks like it's both curvy and it's able to move around at the same time. The pauldrons were probably the... I actually really like the pauldrons, the whole idea of the pauldrons. I'm kind of fucking this one up. I think I get rid of it here. But the way that it's this kind of curved, but it's also sort of angular, I really like that. You can tell already that it's not going over... I'm not tracing over what I've already done. This is going to... I could draw this over and over again on top of one primary over the other, and it's just going to keep changing over and over again. It's always going to be the case. Here, little shiny things here. That... I still have no idea about that watch that's on her chest. I assume it's a watch. The thing in collecting all the resources for Bayonetta is most of her stuff that you can find online is just either promo work, which is just models, or it's just, you know, video game shots of her inside of the game. What am I doing with the legs here? But anyways, collecting the resource work for Bayonetta was difficult, because there's very little concept art of her. I managed to find, like, one. I specifically wanted to use one from the second game versus the first game. First game is horrifying. Her hair towers above her, like, you know, what the fuck is his name? Tower of Babel. I can't remember his name. Nimrod. Like, it was designed by fucking Nimrod. Anyways, tertiary, primary, yet again. It's really hard to get hands to lay on the hips like that, if you've ever tried to draw anything like that. It's always a nuisance. Even if you've done it a million times, you end up fucking it up in some ways. Oh, here I start trying to incorporate her, whatever you want to call it, her sleeves, the little fluffy sleeves and everything. It goes up midway to her arm on the Bayonetta design. It actually works out sort of okay in the end, but it's kind of silly having... because you don't put sleeves on top of armor. So I ended up just making it look like part of the armor. This I'm trying to get her... This is something from Samus's design. She has these sort of little plates on most of... She has a lot of different designs over the years, so she has a lot more leadway in this. But as you can tell, I keep struggling with it. It's like, oh, this fucking thing. Oh, there's so many fucking curves and it looks terrible. It's just a thing sitting on her hand. So eventually I'm like, you know what? You know, fuck this shit. I'm just going to draw a goddamn glove. So guess what? I draw a goddamn glove. And it looks a lot better as a result. Some of the best advice I can give in any sort of art-related anything is never commit to your own work. Like, even now, if I decide, you know what, I don't like this, then, you know, feel free to delete the whole thing. It doesn't matter. Never say, well, I've already drawn this much, I can't get rid of it. Yes, you can. It doesn't matter. It helps you practice. I mean, I've drawn this, the first time this was horrible. I absolutely hated the result of this. But the second time around is a lot better. I imagine if I drew this a third time, you know, it's a third completely different concept, then it would look, you know, even better. But of course, the thing with this, and this isn't a paid project or anything, you can do whatever the hell you want. But the whole point of this is that it's fun. It's supposed to be fun. This is more of a just exercise, a personal exercise. It's meant to try to challenge you to draw a certain way. It's not really coming through quite as much as it normally would have in some of the other fusions. Because in most of the other fusions, like I said, I'm sort of not tracing, but going along the pose of the first one, doing a primary that way, and then trying to fuse down the line work of the other design into the first design. Whereas this one, I'm just completely starting over from scratch. It may come, if I do another one, it may be a little bit more obvious. I think I struggle with the thighs here for a bit. Because in the Samus design, this area, this sort of little, yeah, fucked up with the hips. Drew the hips way too big. Wok fu, baby. Looks like a French girl. But what the hell was I saying? The little anklet things. Metroid's, it's like an even plate that actually goes over it. Whereas with hers, it's just, with Bayonetta's, it's just just cloth coming down at the same time. Voice is going out on me. I have to keep talking though, or else YouTube will flip its shit and start. Even if it's like 5 seconds or something, YouTube will find a song. I'm not even using popular music. I'm just, yeah, it's like you can hear it. It's just fucking classical music. It's stuff that's not even I mean, you can't. It's free to use. It's classical music. The guy's dead. He's been dead. But you know, sometimes it's, well, it's free, but the recording isn't free. So I actually went on some like government archive library. It's, you know, it's stuff that is free. It's 100% free. The government even said, the United States government says this is free. So I use it, I upload it, which rendering these fucking videos takes literally an entire day. I render it and then I upload it, and the upload, since I have bad internet connection, also takes an entire day. And I find that some jerk-off somewhere is monetizing these things as his own. Which you're not supposed to be able to do, but since everything is robot automated, then, you know, fuck me. So they're getting paid for doing absolutely nothing. A few of my older videos, I'm probably going to have to re-upload some of them. Like Predator College and, I think Predator College and the Mario one aren't actually gaining any money right now. Because, there's like a song at the end that's part of the joke, and if you don't have that specific song, then there's no joke. So I would end up just having to re-upload them entirely. Oh, fuck this hair. Her cape, her hair cape. Oh, that sounds gross. Ooh, hair cape. Her hair cape is probably the most difficult part of this thing. Because I'm not good with hair. Actually, people tell me that I am good with hair, but I really don't think so. I think I'm terrible with hair. It's very difficult to try to get it down, probably because I'm trying to draw way too fast. With everything I do, I'm always rushing. I'm just trying to get things done as quickly as possible. I think this drawing took about, I don't know. I have to look at it later, but I think it's like 5 hours or so. I'll leave an annotation if I'm incorrect, or I'll just be lazy and not do it at all. Here I'm taking her gun. I'm not going to do the whole thing precisely. It's not just going to be her gun. But I'm trying to incorporate elements of her gun with elements of the Metroid kind of design guns. I think the primary here is a lot better than the final result. I really like the look of that primary. But I think, yeah, okay. during the process of stretching it and things like that, I think I lost its, and I never caught it until the end. But later on, as I'm going back over this, I realized that this little area that I'm drawing right here, the circle area, is kind of at one angle, and the barrel is at another angle. So it kind of looks like, if you were to imagine it in 3 dimensions, then the little circular part would actually be sort of divoting in towards the very bottom, you know, tapering off. Which is bad. Which it may be something, you know, only I notice, I don't know. I'm sort of a perfectionist, but at the same time, incredibly lazy. Hence my need to draw as quickly as possible. I mean, I'm not drawing this in real time, obviously. This is sped up, but it's not sped up that much. I actually do draw pretty quickly compared to some people that I found out. This little mesh thing. I love doing those mesh things. That little thing in the center. It's also around her joints, too. That's a very distinctive thing with me. It always has been. I used to draw mech designs primarily, and they would always have that near the joints, which I think annoyed some people, since I always copped out and did those things that way. Doing any sort of mechanical work. Anything that... Some people do, like, they love drawing things that are mechanical. I hate mechanical things. Drawing straight lines, especially this fucking circle. This goddamn circle. Is always a nuisance to me. Oh god, I should have tilted that. Why did I do that? Here's a fun fact though. This is Paint Tool's I don't know its version number. I think they're releasing 3 or something pretty soon. But I think it's primarily a Japanese program that is just imported over, and I think someone did a Roost translation if it's GUI, which is why I can use it this way. But this version cannot draw circles. Like in Photoshop, you either use the circle tool, or you use the selection tool and make a circle selection, and then just paint in that area. Sai has none of that. So what you end up having to do is use the brush. I'm going to teach you how to do it. Use the brush, use your mouse. You have to use the mouse. Don't use your tablet. And click once, hit the end key, I think, and that will rotate default. Will rotate your canvas, and then you click again, and then you hit end again, and you just keep doing that, and naturally it will make a curve that ends up looking exactly like a circle. So what I did beforehand is I made one of these as a resource, which if you look at my layers over there, you can see circle source about halfway down. And after that, I just copy and paste it anytime that I actually need a circle. It's really, really stupid. Okay, here I'm actually starting on the color. I should have said this earlier. The thing about combining the 2 colors, you could see me doing it earlier. I was drop selecting Bayonetta's hair and then drop selecting Samus's hair and mixing them together. It does not look good. So what I started off doing is saying, you know what, I'm just going to do this the hard way and have the base be Bayonetta's hair color and then just put in highlights from Samus's hair color. Which, by the end of the design, I kind of forgot about that. Well, I didn't forget about it, I just got rid of it. Mesh! I love mesh. I think I actually keep the red. The color work on this one is far superior to the one that I did before. A lot of the success of your design is going to end up being the color work. Because I could easily use nothing but Samus's colors in this, or I could use nothing but Bayonetta's colors in this. And the end result will be people will look at it and say, oh, it's Samus with a weird head. Or it's Bayonetta inside of, you know, Metroid suit. So what I end up trying to do here is... Not right here, I think it comes later. I start adjusting the colors. Is I try to pick an intermediate between the 2. Like Samus is very sort of whatever you want to call it, northwest, or yeah, northwest. Is northwest on the color wheel, you know, orange, yellow, red. That's Samus. Whereas Bayonetta's is way down on the south end. It's blue, purple, maybe magenta. Maybe. So that presents a problem because you're jumping from one side to the other. You can't hop over into the complementary colors to use it that way. So what I end up having to do is drop down into the magenta area, because that is the closest you can get to an intermediary between those two colors. Blue to red. But one of the problems I run into here is that since one of the core ideas behind Bayonetta's design is that her suit is her hair, which, oh, this still sounds so gross. Her suit is her hair, so you have to pick a color that is sort of the same thing as her hair color. So what I'm doing here is just trying to figure out exactly how I can get away with this. I'm keeping every single segment of her body to its own layer. That way later on I can change each one individually if I want. Once I settle on a core idea, I end up just fusing them all together, merging them. But what see, I already did it. I ended up deciding halfway through, you know what, I'm going with pinks, magentas, and things like that. With just barely some kind of dark bluish purple mixed in there at the end. The main problem I ended up running up with color at this point is, I think, the gloves. The gloves end up presenting a bit of a problem, because you don't want the colors of the whole thing to be too uniform. So I think I end up fucking with the sleeves, and that resolves most of my problems. Oh, somebody forgot. Yeah, someone forgot that circle, didn't they, you asshole? Past Eli, you stupid prick. Can't draw worth a fucking shit. Yeah, you forgot it, didn't you? What a dumbass. What a fucking idiot. Okay, yeah, I'm avoiding the shit out of that glove. Oh, glove, I don't want to work with you. Oh, you're so frilly. You're so nice and frilly. I thought that the bottom of her boots here was way too uniform. So I ended up going back over and deciding, you know what, I'm going to just cheat and add in some details. There wasn't really a precedent in either one of the designs for her colors down there, so I started out with white and just playing with it until something worked. Ugh. All this fucking talking. Working her little frills here. I like the light blue as an accent. It works pretty well. I forget what I did with her bracelets. But working back over these things... No. Okay, yeah. Because of that patch on top is what the main issue was. Whenever you're actually doing designs, I love doing this. You can probably tell if you look closely. I like splicing up designs with lots of little bitty lines. Not like sketchwork lines, but just breaking up each major area with like segmented things, like the glove there. I mean, it's a whole glove, but then there's a little box area. And you see I'm breaking up the fingers even more with additional line work. That way you can add in like little minor accent cues, which really helps breaking up the thing. That way you don't have to... If you use one whole thing, like one whole color, which is sort of like Bayonetta. Bayonetta's design is one whole color for the most part. So you really have to concentrate a lot on either minor details or it has to be painted to shit. I mean, notice the concept work. It had a lot of strokes going on with it. Whereas, you know, I can do that, but I sure as shit don't want to. Because that's a lot of time and effort. What I'm going with here is, eventually when I start adding tones, it's going to be what I call tritone. You can go two-tone or three-tone. Two-tone, normally if you watch a cartoon, then it's going to be two-tone. Or just one-tone, you know, which is just to say it's just one color. There's no shading or anything like that. Adding in tones actually is a big problem. If you see my animations, if you haven't seen my animations, I'm actually a YouTube animator. This is why I'm doing this, blah, blah, blah. Go watch my animations, give me money. If you watch those, in some of them, I completely abandon it because it's way faster. And in most of them, I try to use either two tones or three tones. That will probably quadruple your workload just immediately. Oh, this fucking hair. The hair becomes a real problem. Oh, it still bothers me looking at this. It looks like she has... It looks like she has a bunch of split ends. I don't know why I did it that way. I should have, I really should have put in more movement. It just split up the edges more. Oh well, what's done is done. But I'm trying to foolishly add in highlights here at the bottom. Because remember, I did that up top. It doesn't look too bad, but it's not that great. If I was working in an office with someone, I would go to one of my peers and ask them how they do their hair. Because I really don't like how this ended up turning out, as far as their hair goes. I mean, it looks fine in the end, I guess, but whatever. Oh, this fucking gun. The gun on Bayonetta's design and the gun on Samus' design are actually slightly different in terms of their color schemes. Samus usually it ends up turning gray, whereas the rest of her suit is yellow and red and such. Bayonetta's, on the other hand, I think yeah, you can see it here, bright blue with the sort of red whatever the hell that thing is, and yellows and such. So I'm using the standard colors but keeping them to their own layer. That way I can make slight adjustments later on. In other words, I'm using the same colors that I'm using as their armor. But later on, since to try to differentiate it a little bit, I do things like, you know, just kind of slightly adjust the saturation or the hue or something like that. Really cheap, easy way to get around it. I'm still not certain about the way that I colored this. I couldn't really figure out exactly what needed to be what. Oh man, I had to pause, sneezed. That's a big one. But yeah, I was kind of fucking up this thing. I couldn't, since they're, like I said, I do all these little line works everywhere, so I can break up the design more easily. And you can tell I'm switching up colors. I don't know, does this need to be blue? Does this need to be pink? Does it need to be, you know, I don't know. Because maybe I should have made parts of the main barrel a slightly different color. Maybe I should have made the, see, I already adjusted the hue here. But, you know, that's kind of a major problem. People don't really think about it whenever they look at the final results, but just things like that are kind of a nuisance as far as the final thing goes. Trying to figure out things like that changes a lot about the design. I mean, this could easily be just one complete red thing. Yeah, here's where it fucked up. See, I've already got some shading down and it jumped ahead. I think I only lost about 30 minutes or so, though, so it's not a big deal. But here's my favorite part. This is my favorite part of doing it. It's just doing these really loose, since I do all the line work this way. Since I never have, like, straight curves, I usually try to break everything up with a single line going down, which is why, that's one of the reasons why I went with Samus's armor versus that stupid Zero suit that everyone always uses. Is the fact that I could split up her design more easily like this. But I'm going through and, do I change that later? Yeah. Okay, don't use, like, the straight black as your shader. I'm putting this all to one layer, which, you know, you really don't want to do. Honestly, you want to paint to the layer that it's on. Like, preserve... By the way, there's a preserve opacity thing. It's right under multiply, opacity on the left side. Clipping group and selection source, it's right in between those. Preserve opacity. If you click that, that will make it so that whenever you go back over these things, it will only paint over the things that you have already painted. In other words, if there's just a blank canvas, it won't draw on top of it. That's super useful. It's something that Photoshop does not have. Fuck you, Photoshop, and your goddamn memory leaks. There's no memory leak. It's intentional. Shut the fuck up, Adobe. Good God. Fuck it. That really still pisses me off. Goddamn fucking bullshit. Anyways, yeah, and go back over this. Hard shadows. But you normally want to keep it to its own layer. But what I'm doing here is I'm keeping it to one layer, using one color, and then using the wand tool to select everything that is not been drawn on the layer that I want to change. Then I invert the selection, go back to my shade layer, and then I change the saturation to whatever I want it to be. Like, if you're multiplying, then you want it to be sort of either a darker or a lighter version of its own color. Like here, I'm drawing in a dark red. Like if it was just black, it would look kind of the same but worse. I mean, you want to use this kind of the same hue. More inexperienced people will just use black or white. Or worse, they'll use Photoshop and they'll use the dodge and burn tool. Do not do that. Do not use the dodge and burn tool. It makes it look very metallic. Don't do it, kids. Don't do drugs. Fingers are a bit of a problem because there's no clear directionality with the ooh, burp. There's no clear directional light source, so I ended up just having to cheat. I'm trying to make sure that it's broken enough to where it doesn't look like just one solid color. Oh, I really like this purple. Oh, I love that purple. Sort of a purpley, like a mixture of purple and a dark blue is kind of my favorite color. It's not even in this picture, fuck me. But that's my favorite color. Make farting noises so YouTube can't pick it up. The barrel is a bit of a problem. Samus's barrel was actually yellow all the time. But I decided against that, just because I felt like the yellow would conflict too much with the rest of the thing. This has really surprised me, is whenever I was going back over it and finding the shade for this, it actually exactly matched the hue of the other color that I was working with. It's really bizarre. That probably makes no sense to any of you. So, what the fuck am I talking about? Oh well. Anyways, like I said, this is the most fun part of the whole thing. I guess the most fun part might be the primary, because you don't have to commit to anything. You can just do whatever the hell you want. But I really like shading this way. Some people will do nothing. Like, some people... This is especially prevalent with American, like, people. But a lot of people just absolutely obsess over realism. Like, it has to be everything has to be realistically shaded, which I say that, I'm ridiculing it, but here I go, trying to do the same fucking thing with her hair. Fuck this hair! Trying to break it up, whenever you're working with something like this, work to another layer, if you feel like you've made a good step. That way you can merge it down into the other layer. Sometimes it will fuck you up, though. Because, with some programs, Photoshop does this, Sai really loves to do it. Whenever you merge back down, then you will lose some of the actual details that you were trying to get across because of, like, one might be saturation mode, and one of them might be multiply, so it just fucks up that way. Right here, I'm making another layer. I erase the lower parts so that I can have a color blend in between her armor and her hair. Because again, her armor in this case, for some bizarre fucking reason, is her hair. So it needs to be blended together. I think I've already changed her hair color. It used to be black with yellow highlights. I changed it to brown. It was sort of brownish. Because that is a combination of yellow and black. It sort of goes into brown is a combination of a lot of colors. I think it was a big problem with this one because, again, I couldn't go up into the complementary colors. But I kept blending things, and it always ended up being brown over and over again. It's just murky brown, murky brown. But thankfully, with her hair, it actually works that way. Blue highlights are always nice. And you see that one thing over to the side, the right side, where I just did the little shade on the tapered edge of her pauldron? I really like those. The ones with the just that one line, that one extra stroke. I'm sort of doing it here on the knuckles, too. That sort of thing. I love doing those. Those make me very excited. Very sexually aroused. No, I'm just kidding. But, I love doing that. Metal is so much fun. Metal's a lot of fun. Unless, of course, you're fucking it up and you're not feeling well that day and you're not drawing well. But otherwise, it's a lot of fun. Because you get to do stuff like this. You get to make this incredibly hard white. Which, if you're doing any sort of tone work, whether you're painting or whatever, then you want to make sure that your whites are really fucking white, and your blacks are really, really black. Because that really strengthens the overall look of the design. But I'm basically done here. I'm just adding percentages. Ooh, it's so sparkly. Look at the sparkling armor. It's so fucking sparkly. I'm doing all this shit. But I'm pretty much done. Adding in some little final extra details on my layer that I call extra. one thing you want to do at the very end, if you can, is add in one overall sort of base lighting source like I'm doing here on its own layer, and that will even up all the colors on the whole design. That way everything looks like it's very evenly lit. And I'm done. Alright, that's it. Here's a picture of the final results, I think, if I'm actually showing it. I did a bit more details. As far as the success of this one, is a lot more successful than the last one. Which was I'm not even going to show that. I'm deleting it right now. See, here, I'm doing the key presses. I'm deleting it. It's now gone. You can't see it. But it's a lot more successful than that one. My main criticism of it might be that it looks a bit too much like Bayonetta. That would be, which I think I said at the very beginning. I changed her lips at the very end. I still can't tell if it's good or bad. I hate lipstick. I really hate lipstick. Like in real life and in drawings. I fucking hate lipstick. The less that it looks like lipstick, the better to me. I kind of cheated with that. Anyways, fuck the stupid-ass lipstick. But yeah, it ended up being slightly successful, I think. It's not the best thing I've ever done, but, you know, it's alright. Like I said, the next one, if I do a next one, if you want to see a next one, will be probably... It will involve the boss. It will be a combination of the boss and either Samus or the boss and Bayonetta. Bayonetta, I think, is going to be the problem child of the whole bunch, because Samus and boss are very similar in personality, so they go pretty well together, even no matter what their costumes are. But Bayonetta is always trying to show off her butt. Look at my butt, it's so sexy, it's so round. I get it, Bayonetta, thank you. But that's her whole deal, and her personality is kind of not really meshing that well with the other two. The main problem I'm going to have with Samus and Boss probably is going to be the fact that they look so similar. In terms of, I mean, I'm going to have to get kind of overly detailed. I may end up using the style that they use in their own concept work in Metal Gear. Anyways, that's for next time. But for now, this is a fusion thing, and I hope you enjoyed watching this bullshit. Thanks, you two, for making me talk over this whole goddamn thing. I really just wanted to let it go and have classical music play, but fuck me. Anyways, that's it. Alright, see you fuckers later. Peace out.